learning to do by doing, and see how it's going to go. For each module, there will be 3 activities. In the first phase, about half time of the first activity, I will be expatiating on the principles. And if I was in a physical setting with you, I will be sitting in the middle and interacting with everybody. But in this case, I will plead that you take your, as soon as the activity stops, we welcome ideas from everybody. And we summarize those ideas, summarize what we've learned from there, and we go to activity 2. At the end of activity 2, another session of issues and reactions from you, and please, I do expect reactions. And activity 3, same thing, after which I'll give a summary, and there'll be a takeaway. The takeaway will not be a packet of biscuits or sweets. It will be something that you have to read different. I will not deal on the issues and reactions now. Please take note so that as we begin before we start off the next activity, the next module, we'll spend some time reviewing the questions and issues that you've noted. So I look forward to active learning. So today we go on to module 1. Look at the title. It says justify in teaching and learning excellence at the university level. But if you look below, it says something I would like you to note seriously. You cannot use yesterday's methods to business today and still expect to be in business tomorrow. In other words, we cannot continue teaching at the university level the way we were taught because times have changed. If we continue that way, we'll be rendered obsolete. And I think we want to be rendered more active still, more useful to the universities and the academic communities. So that is, we're going to go through the series of justifications. Yes, it is a convergence of 3 factors. The first factor, which I will explain later, and I think you're familiar with, is the acceleration of history. The acceleration of history. The second one is the world of work has changed. So the emerging world of work. And I don't know, I think also importantly, changing student profile. The student of today is not the same as the student of 1970 because the world has changed so much between 1970 and now, even between 1990 and now. So let's repeat the convergence when we say these factors that now will motivate us to want to revolutionize the way we teach at the university level. The combination of 3 that come together that converge: the acceleration of history, the emerging world of work, and changing student profile. We'll go on from there. Now let's take the emerging acceleration of history. What it simply means is that so many new things are happening in the world today. They are happening so fast, and when they happen so fast, they change our lives. Let's take the cell phone. For most of us, 40, 30 years ago, there were no cell phones in our different countries. But between now and then, we've used the cell phone first to make calls, then we've used for messages, we've used for access to internet, we've used to listen to music, and more is coming. As you say, 4G, 5G, 3G, rapid changes are coming, and we're all part of it. But the important thing is that even yesterday, you didn't have a phone, and you were not using any phone. Today, not only you're using your phone, Your phone has changed your life completely. And if you take what we're doing right now, it wouldn't have been possible a generation ago for someone to sit somewhere and be in direct communication, direct, not recorded communication with the rest of the world. And part of this acceleration of history, what has brought it about is globalization. The world has become a global village. When a music whatever is released in Los Angeles, it gets to Madagascar the same day. And when you find people saying this is the way it's done, because you borrow it fast from other places. The only thing we say in Africa is that we like this global village that globalization has brought about, but we don't like to be at the periphery or the slums of the village. So we must also join the world in creativity and innovation so that it will be an equal playing field for globalization. And part of it is what is written there as 4IR, meaning Fourth Industrial Revolution. What we're doing now is part of what Industrial Revolution has brought. We shall come to it later. But I do distinguish between what we have now, which I call everything. You couldn't imagine e-learning a generation ago. You couldn't have imagined e-commerce, e-banking, e-governance. And I think the younger ones even have e-dating. And I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to have e-marriages and e-babies. But the world has now moved slightly before this everything, meaning you can do virtually everything with e, to e everywhere. And we shall come to that when you now find that robots are beginning, while they have the concept of artificial intelligence, meaning that even machines and even wood are acquiring their capacity to undertake very multiple tasks. So what we're saying here is that with this rapidly changing world, which is concerning all of us, irrespective of where we have ourselves and where technology is becoming dominant because of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, I think we have to rethink the way we teach at all levels, and particularly at the university level where the elite in community is trained. So we go ahead. Then the world has known, as you remember we mentioned 4IR. The world has known 3 industrial revolutions, and the world is moving into the 4th. What is the acceleration of history here is that the time it took the world to go from 1 to 2 was a long time, but now you don't wait that long. So the first industrial revolution was when people started using mechanization by discovering the steam power. It was there when we went to school in primary school, somebody Stevenson, who discovered the steam power, and the train of those days was run by steam. And from that came the second set of mass production, which we learned in economics. Somebody, Ford in America, who came up with the capacity to produce parts of cars, parts of everything, quick, and following an assembly line. And this was aided by the invention of electricity. If you look back, what electricity can do today is enormous. And we're now in the third one, where that of everything, where the computer has become something you cannot do without. Your cell phone, as I said, was an innovation of this. You do find across Africa that people who are said to be illiterate can use their cell phones. And where you used to write letters before, you can now send SMS. Where you used to queue in a bank, you can stay in your bedroom and do the banking. Where you used to write a letter and go to a post office to post, you can type and click and it goes to where it wants to go. We're in that age of automation, use of computers. But we're now moving to the 4th industrial revolution, the 4th cyber-physical systems, which I will still discuss in the following slides. Now, the best way to describe, because development is an evolutionary process, everything comes in waves. So when we say second, third industrial revolution, you didn't say, it's like saying 21st and 22nd centuries. It does not mean that on December 31st of a particular date, a century will end, we go on break, and we come back to the new century. One goes filters into the other. So it has been a successive wave of innovation. And innovation, as I said, affects the way you live, affects economic and social development. And each, if we look at the slides from top to bottom, each revolution is built on what has gone before it. The first one occurred in the late parts of the 18th and 19th century. The second one, the 20th century. The one we have on now is the later part of last century, and it has relied so much on ICT, in the ICT, and particularly the internet. But the fourth one is the one where we're moving into. It's unfolding, and is based on robotization, meaning machines in particular are now able to do certain things that other people used to do. You know, you can, even on the computer, you can console, you can send, you can cut short, you can edit by pressing your button. You can stay by your TV and press the button from your bed post and turn over to CNN, from CNN to the other one without touching unless you're working. And the world is moving to a stage where your motor, your vehicle that you used to use a key, you now use a key to start. The engine of which you now use a key to start will no longer be necessary. You just have to press a button and it keeps moving. And the world is going even towards autonomous vehicles that you can call, as you call a child, go to this place, stay there, do this, and come back. So it's a question when you say cyber physical systems, you are saying we talk about cyber, which in common language is called a cloud. But this cloud now is now touching on physical objects and other materials. We'll explain more on this, but what is said here is that there has been three industrial revolutions in mankind history as far as we know, and we're moving into the fourth. And the way you used to teach them during the first and second revolution wouldn't be the way you teach them now, because they are going into a world that is totally revolutionized technologically. Now, again, please note your station, note your issues and concerns. You are also participants in the globalization and the industrialization process. You live in a country, your countries, you know what is available, what is not available. You've also been raising issues. So considering this little summary I've done, please note your reactions. The next session will be discussing this in full. Now, our activity 2, activity 1 says the world is changing quick, and aided by this, pushed by this industrial revolution and the rest. Our activity 2 is that the world of work is also changing. That of our children isn't the same as our own. Our own period was not like that. Those of our parents and our grandchildren, they may probably be in the 6th industrial revolution. But let's go on to see this in detail. Now, I'm going to discuss this at 4 levels. 1, we're going to be clear about the concept. We say the world of the work. What is the difference between that and the labor market that we hear everybody talk about? 2, we're going to say a few words about the knowledge economy, because that is part of the changes that the industrial revolution has also brought up, and which has also affected the way we do business. And 3 is called graduate unemployability. Notice I have not said unemployment. So when we get there, we shall explain. And number 4, I alluded to it slightly earlier. There's a skills revolution in the world. In other words, what type of skills do you need to survive in the world that is emerging? So we're going to them in greater detail. Number 1, let's look at the difference. In one case, you have got to be hired, that is to be employed by someone. In the other case, you could be hired, but most importantly, you can also create opportunities for economic activities, and you can even hire. In that case where you are waiting to be hired and where you must be hired, it is the labor market. You are being bought more or less. In the case where you could be hired, but more demands are made on you, but you can also, without being directly hired, create opportunities for your talent to be used in the service of community. And if necessary, also hire people. So that is what I understand by the world of work. That is this world of survival using your talents and contributing to the benefit of society without saying, oh, I have no job. Somebody says there may be no jobs, but there is work. So the mentality today is that let there be jobs by all means, but let there also be opportunities for work. And let people also learn to make use of those opportunities. So let's see the changing demands of the world of work. In my time, government and the ministries were the ones who provided everything. But today, in most part of Africa, as you go from building to building, you see signposts showing what people are doing. The pharmacists, the grocery stores, the builders, the taxi and the transport hirers, internet providers, SIM card providers. You can go on and on and on. Manufacturers of cold drinks and energy drinks and the rest of it. In other words, the private provider, which can be big corporations like the Rand Corporation of South Africa. We can be like Lever Brothers in some parts of Africa. From the medium ones, which can have 2 or 3 or 4 shops, restaurant, for example, to the smaller ones, smaller, micro, everything. And if you are living in West Africa, you'll be familiar with the market mummies of Ghana, for example, Nana Benz of Togo, the Igbo traders of Nigeria, and so on, who are all trying to contribute to economic and self-development by the little businesses they are doing. So these mini, micro enterprises, medium enterprises, they become even bigger in number at least than the big ones. And they are the ones dominating the creation of, if you like, jobs. So there's a rise and rise and rise of the private provider while a government is declining. And that is what you have in the first 2 sentences there. Government is declining and the state is being dominated by medium and small enterprises. Then comes the reign of competitiveness. When in school we were learning the geography of Africa, if you produce sisal in East Africa, they'll tell you, oh, you have a comparative advantage. And if you produce cocoa in West Africa, you have comparative advantage over cocoa. And I think now there are some African countries producing petroleum, but they have comparative advantage. But the world today is no longer talking about comparative advantage. They are talking about competitive advantage. You may have that oil, that cocoa, that sisal, that timber, But somebody who doesn't even have it, but who has the knowledge on how to exploit and handle it, will become richer than you in the process. And whatever you are doing today, if you're a bank, you are looking at the bank next door to ensure that it doesn't snatch your market share. And so you do whatever you can do to attract customers and remain profitable. And so you say you are competitive. So it used to be comparative advantage. They are now talking about competitive advantage. You may have the raw resources, but if you don't know how to transform your raw resources to other usable resources, you just that your comparative being the thing is dumped on you. It's no longer as useful as you can exploit what is dumped and even not dumped on you for the betterment of life. Now, you hear people say some people are white-collar workers. They work in offices. They are managers, they are directors. And they say some people are blue-collar workers because they push the trucks. Ladies and gentlemen, with all the changes that have gone on in the world today, everybody has become a knowledge worker. If you look back, some time ago we had telephone operators in many establishments. I think they have disappeared. We used to have what they call copy typists and even secretaries. They are in the process of disappearing. Because whatever you're doing today, whether you're employed to drive a vehicle or employed to carry waste from one corner of the building to another, you now need the application of knowledge. And that is why there used to be a time, if you had a degree and you become a taxi driver, the world would say, what is he doing with a degree in chemistry? But today's taxi driver is no longer the taxi driver of yesterday. You have to book him online. You have to use his computer to locate where you are. You have to pay him using credit cards and so many other things that require the application of knowledge. And of course, he had to be able to communicate with you, whether in English or whatever. So it's no longer that. And if he takes his car for repairs, he has to be able to explain the mechanism that is creating trouble for the vehicle. So all this, whatever position you find yourself today, if you're serving people drinks in a bar, you have to apply knowledge. So that distinction between knowledge workers and manual workers is disappearing, especially as all the manual things are now being willing to E everything and E everywhere. Now, the other important one is qualifications, meaning BSc, MSc, MBA. Nobody says they're no longer useful, or they are yielding ground to who are you. In other words, this is what you say you have, but has it changed you in any form? And when you look at any advertisement these days, it starts with those personal qualities. Must be a team builder, must be very willing to learn, must be versatile, must be adaptable, must be culturally intelligent, must be emotionally intelligent, and so on. And they then say the possession of a university degree will be an advantage. So the people who were educated today in the universities, today's world of work will not say BSc, they may say it, but what they need is different. It's more than that. I learned from personal experience, the banks in Nigeria are recruiting all the time, and they have what they call aptitude tests. And I've noticed, as I see it on panels, that candidates who have got BSc money and banking are not necessarily the ones who pass the aptitude tests. Then you see people with degrees in Arabic and Islamic studies or theater arts come in tops because what is being tested, what is being emphasized are those personal qualities. As we go along, we'll be explaining more of this. Yes. Remember, the first we said the world is changing fast. Secondly, as part of that, we say demands of the world of work. But the world of work is being fueled by the knowledge economy. And one simple way of explaining the knowledge economy is that in the past, if you had the raw materials, the products, they say you were rich. But now for you to be rich, you have to know you have to have that knowledge of getting things better than they were. So in the past, it is physical goods. Now, when you have physical goods, take your mango, as you consume, it disappears. But today, information is what we use in there, and it can never be consumed. What I'm discussing with you now, you are going to digest, you are going to ask me more questions, and after the series of lectures and all that, you're still going to continue. So in the case of knowledge and information, you can never say it is finished. And everywhere you go, you're supposed to be a learning person, meaning the certificate you have is not enough, you continue improving. But the organizations are also called learning organizations, meaning if they are not doing well or doing well, they are collecting information which they use to develop themselves further. And when you say learning these days, as I was saying already, is education, is learning, just not learning, but learning to use what you have learned and learning by interacting with the environment. And when you are in your place of work in the knowledge economy, they are not looking at your qualifications only. Remember, we said qualities are also your initiative, your ability to take initiative, your ability, your creativity, how you can solve problems. These have become more and more demanding skills that are demanded. And every organization where you find yourself, including the one you create yourself, or the student will create himself, is now flexible. Where you say, I'm into block making. But you integrate thinking, what is block making? How do we make it? And so that you continue adjusting to changing times so that you remain competitive. And for education, it's now you avoid excessive specialization. It's no longer. I had this experience interviewing prospective lecturers in English literature. And one has a lot to say about his thesis on Wole Soyinka, a Nigerian Nobel Prize winner. And the panelist said, how does it compare with Chinua Achebe, another Nigerian? And the man says, well, I did not study that. We have gone beyond the world of I have not studied that. We've gone to the world that we are motivated to want to broaden our scope. So no excessive specialization, no compartmentalization. Because I know biochemistry, I don't know chemistry. And because I know, because I know economics, I don't know mathematics. Nobody says you should know everything equally, but at the same time, you should be versatile enough to apply the elements of your mathematics to explaining economics, elements of your sociological science to be able to, and communication to be able to deal with others. So, as I said earlier, that last bullet is talking about emphasis on human skills. We'll see that later. But let me say like this. In our native languages all over Africa, We can say you are knowledgeable, you a lot of things. But we also judge you by your comportment, by your relationship with people. We say, oh, he's a very admirable person. And if you know the book and you are not a human being, our people will still not tolerate you. So this day and age, when you say uniquely human skills, you are talking about those skills that make you an acceptable person in society. And this, as we have it here, conceptual, the way you can think and turn problems around, interpersonal and communication skill, how you can be with others and know how to deal with them in speech, in writing, in behavior generally. So these are just some points about the knowledge economy, but that's what we're living through. And wherever, that's why you don't make a sharp distinction between white collar and black collar, because everybody is now applying knowledge. So our point number next. So, but the knowledge economy has had an impact. If you look at the left-hand side, it is where we now emphasize less, and the right-hand side we emphasize more in our teaching and learning. Factual knowledge. Accra is the capital of Ghana, is factual. How does Accra compare with Nairobi? Has gone beyond factual to something else, and there will be no clear answer. It is the way you reason about it. And instead of factual knowledge, we're beginning to emphasize more of interpersonal skills, that is, know yourself. Sorry, first, let's say the bottom one, intrapersonal skills, know yourself, and interpersonal skills, know yourself so that you can deal appropriately with others. It used to be narrow specialization. Because you've studied BS Honors Geography, you've ignored everything else. In this day and age, the world of work is looking for broad-based knowledge. And in the university, we're looking for flexible curricula, meaning we taught something last year, but we saw how it's working or not working. And so we've adjusted to include or to exclude or to enrich ABC. And that's the emphasis. You don't borrow no specialties. They say when you are asked a question, yes, I didn't study that. You must have the mindset to want to know more. And now, we in terms of the type of curriculum still, we're now emphasizing more of interdisciplinarity. That is, you take COVID-19. It has medical dimensions, it has economic dimensions, it has sociological dimensions, it has human relations dimensions, and so on. So you're looking at that theme and you are bringing knowledge from different perspectives to address it. Because in addressing human problems, you don't stick to only one way of viewing things. The other thing that has come back, that is being emphasized now, is not just that you know, it is have you acquired LLL, lifelong learning skills. We'll get there, but let me illustrate with us a very simple example. Somebody says, what is the meaning of versatility? And the teacher gives versatility means you have not helped the students. But if the students could bring out their dictionaries and go back to the letter V and go on to VE and go to VER and go on to VES, in the process they will discover versatility, other things. Tomorrow, confronted with the flexibility, they will know how to go about it. That is just a down-to-earth illustration of getting the learner to acquire learning, lifelong learning skills. And in the university everywhere now, we are emphasizing all that. We may not put them on the timetable to say today we're learning lifelong learning skills, but from the way we teach, from the way we interact with students, we do inculcate this type of thing. And this day and age, remember, they used to say somebody's computer literate. We've gone beyond that. ICT is a lot more than a computer. And as we go into the fourth industrial revolution, we see more applications. So this day and age, in getting our students through whatever we're teaching them, we must have a way of inculcating ICT versatility. That is, being able to find out the various possibilities of ICT and being able to apply this where necessary. And so these days, and adapt readily. And even when they say, oh, let me go my own, they don't have the drive, the push, the initiative. Their mindset doesn't create much. And the patience, the resilience you need to be on your own, they don't have. In other words, even when the opportunity is there for you to be hired, you're so ill prepared, you're so ill disposed, you are so ill motivated, you are so unwilling that people may not consider you hireable. And even when you are hired, you cannot adapt, you cannot grow. And he said, well, let me get angry and start my own thing. You can't even initiate what you don't have the creative mind to know what to find. So that's why we say in the new teaching and learning environment, we inculcate these more personal skills. And I'm going to talk about a skills revolution, which may not be examined the way we examine now, but we can inculcate them through our interaction processes with students, and we can assess them as we interact on a continuous basis, helping every learner to get transformed. So it's getting weightier. You can see why we have to think differently. So let's go. Now, my point number 4 is that the world today, there has been a skills revolution. Sometimes the things I say you cannot find in textbooks. because I'm learning from my work in the field. And I always say when I talk education, I'm talking what doing education has taught me about education. There has been a misconception on what constitutes skills. Once you say skills, people consider the physical aspect. Show them how to drive, show them how to print, show them how to do this. Remember that if you have all this how, and you don't have the things we've been considering, say under employability and so on, you find you cannot even go ahead. So the world, as it's evolving, has created a need for this skill set, a set of 3 types of skills. And they do refer to what psychologists call multiple intelligences. And he have created, if you like, 3 intelligences. You have what you call the hard skills. And they refer to what I call cognitive intelligence, that is the brain. And you can find a long list, how you express yourself, your capacity to reason, computational skills, even design, manipulative, conceptual. That is how you can think, how you can get things done, how you can reason, how you can express yourself in a logical sequence and all that. Where you have it, how you can design both in your mind and on paper, how to go about something so that you don't jump into it. We talk about minds on and hands on, and where there are like things that are physical, like machines, you can also manipulate your brain development, cognitive intelligence applies to that. And in our own sense, in our own case, your study of let me say, philosophy or mathematics or physics will depend on that cognitive, your scores there, the cognitive intelligence. But those are the hard skills. But ladies and gentlemen, wherever you go, the emotional, the soft skills must complement the hard skills. In other words, if you know, you must also know how to relate. And that I've called the domain of emotional intelligence. You find emotional intelligence in the literature everywhere, but it deals with your character. It deals with how much you know your own shortcomings, how much you can relate to others, and the extent to which you continue to learn. And most importantly, perseverance skills. Life is a tough journey, and those who give up early will not get anywhere. But those who persevere will continue learning and continue improving, and so they continue being better than they were before. But ladies and gentlemen, in a world that demands that you to go ahead and do something, you create. I've added in the literature, you find hard skills and soft skills. I have added go-getting skills. You can call it by any other. And it refers to the domain of imaginative intelligence, your ability to create, for creative thinking. If you move about in the world, you find the masses as everybody is saying the same thing. That person who says, why can't we do it this way? Becomes the inventor, the person who does something that the world comes to know. Then I've added ideational fluency. There are people who just listen. They never think about what they are listening to. So fresh ideas do not come in. And in most cases, you find that businesses and so on tend to send people away because they say they want fresh ideas. So if you are fluent in talking and you are not fluent in how to generate ideas, you can't move forward. Then opportunity seizing, that is 2 of us, 3 of us can see the same thing. We may see it as a danger. There's a flood along the street, and we see it as a danger. Somebody says, oh, this could be an opportunity to do something to the building so that something will happen. And experiential learning, that is, many people see things but they do not perceive. So as you go through life, every little thing becomes something that builds up on what you've known before. And most importantly, idea to product. I said ideas conversion skills, meaning, oh, I've got a brilliant idea. If you buy the eggs from Takoradi and you sell them in Accra, you make that much. Then you stop there. You're as good as dead. But the one who goes on to experiment on it, it may not work exactly the way he has thought about it, but he can go on learning how better to do it. That is what ideas go to product, your idea. But I don't know if you work with people who, under a meeting setting, in academic settings, they will express themselves, they have brilliant things to say. But the moment you put them to the task, please join the group that will do this, they start telling you why it cannot be done. So, ladies and gentlemen, this point says, if you look around the world today, there has been a skills revolution. We started by saying your certificate, your qualifications do matter, but what you should add to it is also your personal qualities. And these personal qualities are illustrated here. Hard skills, you know a lot of things, nobody doubting that. But you must match it with soft skills, the ability to be a human being. And if you must really survive in a society that is building on creativity and all that, you must also add to it imaginative intelligence. That is, apply because people have it, they don't apply. Go getting skills. That is, don't stay in one place. Don't let the brain stay in one point. So these are all the things that have been happening to the world, and which will influence, which will determine the way we now teach at the university level. Yes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a lot has been said, and this particular section 2 has so much. You can see in the picture how the young ones are ready for ideas. So when we meet next time, I look forward to your ideas on this so that we can all continue learning in a situation where there are no teachers and there are no students. So we'll go on to our third activity for the module. It says changing student profile. And if you look at those young people there, you can see they are all smiling. We shall see why they are smiling later. Let's go on. Now, I want you take note exactly where you are. And in your mind, try to compare the students you are dealing with now and the students of your days. Number one, you want to think of the type of homes students used to come from in the past. Today, more of them, not the majority, but more and more, are coming from homes that are relatively well off. They've been through secondary school. In some cases, mother and father have also been to school. In some cases, they have elder siblings who've been to school. And in some cases, they even see a university around them. They don't have to travel far to see one. This is my observation. Please look at your own observation. Number two, the age range. When I went to the university some 50 years ago, more than that, almost 60 years ago, I was 25 years old and I was considered young. When my children were graduating, they were 20 years old. So if you go to our universities today, you are going to see teenagers and young adults. And you're always complaining, why it is children of nowadays. Well, we don't know children of your own days. We are only saying, you are saying that because children of your days were different. I'm not saying one is better than the other. Again, look at your own environment and see the age range of students. Number three, gender disparity is still there. More boys than girls, especially in science and technology. But there's been an increase, a slight, depending on where you are, on girls' participation, all true. Again, look at what you have. Number four, there was a time the university in Ghana, the university in Dakar, the university in Ibadan, Nigeria, the university in Makerere, the university of Khartoum, and the one that was built for old Rhodesia and Nyasaland were regional universities, meaning people from all over the continent or the sub-region went to them. Then we came to a time when independence came and ownership of a university became a sign of independence. So you had one country, one university. And you find Makerere breaking up to be 2 or 3 universities. You find Dakar breaking up to go back to your environment and say, how many universities do you now have? I know of a country where there are more private universities than government-owned universities. And you look at where the universities are sited. Are they now, there used to be real urban centers with everything, campuses. You go to today, there are more institutions everywhere, which means that more young people do have access to higher education, even though it is still a problem in Africa. Now, number 5, in my own time, half of the students would have been working after high school, or they've acquired their high school diploma at home before going to the university. These days, they are more likely to come straight from school. So when you say they don't know, no ticket, they don't know this, they don't know that, it's because the high school didn't prepare them. Well, you're also conscious of the fact that because they come straight from high school, they are probably not working before, they've not worked before, they are not paying their own fees. They must be different, and they live in a different world. And number 6, in our time, the lecturer was the knowledgeable person. If he says Tanzania is part of Kenya, we will not doubt because we have no other source of information. But today, the young person can, through the Google, through the internet, be looking at what you are talking about and saying in his or her mind, this lecturer doesn't know the latest, because the external influence, which could be good or evil, is there. Now, in those days, when you say come in at 9 o'clock, be properly dressed, do your hair, sit quietly, students are likely, or were most likely to just obey. The teacher has spoken. But today, the children are beginning to ask questions. And I'll talk about that later. So you can even when you can no longer say, shut up. You probably plead with them to be quieter. And this day and age too, more of the students know what is happening outside, and many are even trying to see if they can get out. And as we said earlier, number 9, they have other sources of knowledge, of acquiring knowledge. You have satellite and cable television, the internet, and so on. And number 10, in those days, before you got your certificate, you were already employed in a ministry. Today, the ministries are not expanding. Some are not even paying salaries. Today, they're no longer the sole providers of employment. It's no longer the labor market, but a world of work. And it's a big issue. Nobody says it's a good one. Now, most universities before had art, science, and something. Today, you cannot count the number of faculties and the number of courses because things are changing. But I think what every university manager will talk about is massification. That is, students increasing in numbers. The first effect of this is that they come now with mixed abilities, no longer the highly motivated, the highly well-educated, the most willing, the most conforming, but a variety of traits. The other consequence is that the facilities, including the human resources, are not expanding. They're not increasing. And so it has these dire consequences for the system. So, ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of this is not to tell you this has happened or is happening. It's for you to take a look at each item and say to yourself, what exactly does it look like if we compare the students then and now? Students, say, a generation ago and now. It's just to say that the profile of the student is no longer what it used to be. And so the teaching and learning methods have to be different. Yes? Yes. Look at this. I want everybody to take a minute to look before I say anything. Okay. It says rise of generation Y. And you look at this back in 1960. What does Grandpa say to the young one? Hello, John. Get up and open all the windows. Let's repeat. Grandpa beckons to grandchild. Hello, John. Get up and open all the windows. Let's see what happens. John obeys. I want us to see obeys. That is no argument. And he says, okay, I'll do it right away. Let's look at it again. This was in 1960s, and it's a true story. Grandpa, hello, John, get up quickly and open this window. All the windows. John bows and obeys. Okay, Grandad, I'll do it right away. Now, let's go back quickly to 2021. And Grandpa says to this young lady, and open all the windows, please. You can notice that Grandpa here adds please. And if you look up there, John obeys and says, but look down there and retorts and says, Grandpa, but why? What I'm trying to say here is this. A generation ago, the students were dealing with they sit, stand, they stand, write, they write, go out, they go out, come here, they come there. Today's generation, when you say what you are saying, because they have other sources, because they're questioning behavior, they want to know why. So we are dealing now with generation Y. And the way we make generation Y learn through our teaching should be different. Yeah, let's see. Now, this generation Y thing has a lot of issues and questions. And you can see the lady and the gentleman in the picture doing Y. So let's recall what we've been doing. As I said, for each module, we had to do a summary. And the summary is simple. Times have changed and are changing fast. I think that was the first point we made. Second point, unemployability of graduates is a reality. Qualifications must now be carried along with personal qualities. And number three, quality teaching and learning at the university level must therefore be responsive to this emergent scenario. Well, let me repeat. Times have changed. And old market skills can no longer meet today's what we require. I'm moving left to right. Let me start again. That times have changed. and they're also changing fast. And because times have changed, all job skills can no longer meet, job market skills can no longer meet the needs of today that emphasizes the world of work. And three, unemployability has become a stark reality. And so while we consider qualification, we must carry along with this how we develop personal qualities. And today's university student comes with a wide attitude because he or she is growing up in a world in which questioning has become the way of learning. And because of all this, for all these reasons, quality teaching and quality learning at the university level must take all this scenario into consideration. That is briefly what we've been trying to discuss for about so many hours. What we've left behind is your own contribution through the questioning sessions. Please be prepared to carry this with us next time. So it has been for me a very exciting moment. I wish I could repeat this over and over. So, ladies and gentlemen, AAU is going to send you by email a takeaway. This is a document, a few pages that explains what I have not explained well. That is the 4 industrial revolutions. And you can, if you can also click, you can get it from there. It's a 3-page thing. It will be sent to all participants. I look forward to your useful contribution in the next module. If I was, and in today's class, I would say clap for yourselves.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Pai Obanya, for that presentation. When we're doing a technical test run yesterday, we realized that we may have a challenge this morning. So what we did was to take a proactive step in pre-recording the session. So some of you may have realized that Professor Pai Obanya's presentation today, it's a pre-recorded session. And so moving into the question and answers session, we are just going to take contributions. If you have questions, we are going to send to Professor Pai Obanya this evening, and tomorrow's session, which is going to be put your hand up, and then we'll do that for you. Anyone with a contribution, comment, question? All right. Beto, please proceed.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. So I want to make some contributions in addition to the presentation we had just listened. And something I quickly want to point out is on the aspect of the teaching where Prof was trying to point out that how the world of work is today and how we need to update our knowledge and to better teach. Something I have observed, or I observed, is when you look at maybe some of these top universities and how they conduct their teachings, you will find clearly quite a gap when you also participate in a class session in Africa or in in Nigeria, because I'm from Nigeria. So what I've observed clearly is that you see that the professors, maybe in some of these developed or high-level universities, they oftentimes teach from their own research. The examples they cite, the development of knowledge. So this creates an opportunity where your knowledge is updated. You don't just teach with even if it is a topic that you have been teaching for years. But if you update this knowledge by the examples you cite during the class, the case studies you review during the class sessions, if these case studies, if these examples are connected to the research you have done, or the research you were part of, or the research of your colleague that is maybe in a network you belong, or maybe other updated research that connect with something you're doing, because there is this value that when people teach, or when you attend a class and the professor is teaching from his own research experience, from what he has found out in the lab, it creates a lot of value and it gives room to update knowledge in that sphere. So this is something I want to send out. I understand the challenges around conducting research and being able to provide updated knowledge in one's field or sphere of influence, but oftentimes I see but my question is, most of the times our professors, they are also being promoted, and promotion is out of or connected to their own publications. And you see publications every now and then from Africa and from countries like Nigeria, to be precise. But when you go to the class to attend lectures, you don't see a correlation between the research that the professor is doing, or the lecturer is doing, and as well as what he or she is teaching and how it correlates with that particular topic. That also brings me to the point of specialization. I think it's, I understand when Prof mentioned about interdisciplinary, knowing about everything and probably not knowing just too much of one thing. Yes, that is very valid, but it's also important that there is this scope of specializations in our universities and also with our professors. Sometimes you go to university websites, you don't see clear definition of of the area of study of a professor. You don't see the clear sphere of study, what his research is focused on. And then again, you also have issues of consistency, because when you go also to the publications of the professor or the lecturer, it doesn't correlate with what he or she has defined as the sphere of interest. You just see that there's no consistency in that sphere or scope of research. And this is not to take out the fact that where you have professors who are more interdisciplinary in nature, yes, it's good for that, but it's also good to have like a niche where one feels. This is also a challenge I've noticed around some of our university lecturers also in Nigeria and by extension Africa. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Bethel, for those critical observations. I think that the issue of correlation between research and teaching is very, very important. And I'm sure that we have academics here. We would try and discuss some of these things further, and Prof will also give his thoughts on some of the things that we've raised. But if you have any contribution, or if you have any feedback to what Bethel has raised, you can still put your hand up, and we will give you the opportunity to do so. But we want to take, okay, Grace's hand is down now. Duresa Timirat. Duresa, please go ahead. All right, let me pick Grace. Grace is back. Grace, can you unmute?
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Grace. Go ahead.
I just want to ask, don't you think it's high time that students are involved in the process of curriculum development? Because we discover that curriculum are just, developed and passed on to the lecturers, and lecturers begin to follow the curriculum. And if students are involved, probably the e-learning, e-skill, wherever that Prof has talked about could be embedded in the curriculum. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, thank you very much, Grace, for that question. Very important. I think in some processes, students are involved, but not all. We have academics here who could also contribute to that as well. But we have kept your question, and we will let Prof provide feedback tomorrow before the second module. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's go to Duressa. Duressa, kindly unmute. Yes. Duressa, please go ahead. Duressa, check your earpiece. We can't hear you. Check your earpiece if it's really connected. Yes. No, we can't hear you.
Okay, no.
Great. You are very audible now. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, you're audible. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Hello? Hello?
Duressa, we can hear you. Go ahead. Duressa, please take off your earpiece. Use your computer speaker. We can hear you clearly. Don't use the earpiece. Thank you. Great.
Okay, thank you. I need to react on the first module. I appreciate also Professor for the first module justifying about teaching and learning excellent at the university level. I'm also happy to join this qualification of learning and teaching method. My conception is on the curriculum based. Also, my one participant also raised about the curriculum for the university must be changed. A lot of countries are not working on the curriculum because the curriculum was not updated. They are using the previous long curriculum. That's why many students are not comfortable with this curriculum. Many universities in Africa are not updating their curriculums. This is one main problem of the universities in learning and teaching process. Another one that must be considerable is about the political issues in African universities. All African universities must be considered about the students. Nowadays, the students are joined rather than education to the political issues. So African universities are not working on these issues because students must be free from this political perspective. So all African universities must consider about the political issues for the students. Thank you for.
Thank you very much, Duressa. May I know your university, please? Is it possible?
Chance.
Please come again. Say it again. We lost you a bit. Duressa, tell us your university.
Okay, thank you. I'm from Ethiopia, Adama Science and Technology University.
Okay.
I'm a lecturer.
Thank you. Great. Thank you for that input. I think it's very important to look at political issues.
From Adama Science and Technology University, Ethiopia. I'm a lecturer.
Thank you. Right. Thank you. All right. So we are still waiting for comments, contributions. If you have any comment, any contribution, please go ahead, put your hand up, and then we will enable your microphone for you to speak. Let me go through the chat and see. Okay, so we don't have any questions in the chat yet. Okay, so most of them are commendations for Professor Pai Obanya for the presentation. And so, okay, Divine, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for the lesson. The session has been great. Thank you for organizing such. I'm Divine from the University of Buea, Cameroon. I want to just point out here that we university lectures, I think it should move from just pure lectures to project-based kind of teaching, where students get engaged in the teaching and learning process. Because from our observation, especially in our university here in Cameroon, we realize that it's more of theoretical than practical kind of teaching, and at the end of the day, you find many students who have knowledge, good at the knowledge they have, but they can't do anything. At the point you ask a student, what can you do? A graduate, what can you do? They can't show anything they can do because it just ended at the level of the classroom where they have to just get theory. So in my own observation, I think we should move from this theoretical to more practical kind of teaching and learning in our universities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Akama Divine. I think these are things that are very important, and most institutions on the continent are trying their best possible to migrate from, or not migrate, but combine the two paradigms. So I think it's very crucial. Thank you for that comment. Bertel, your hand is up again. Can I give you just a minute? Bertel, unmute and make your submission.
All right, thank you. I just want to add to the discussion around the curriculum.
Okay.
So earlier I didn't mention, so I'm Bertel from TU Darmstadt. So just on the curriculum issue is, the third angle of it is, I think the disconnect between the industry and the academia is also a challenge, because this bridges the opportunity to infuse the industry needs, what the industry wants, into the academia. And there is something that is very simple, and I keep saying, like, I sometimes it's challenging to understand what the breakdown is between the industry and the academia. But I think with the way the world works today, there are simple methods with which the academia can engage the industry. A simple Google form, it just Google form or a form on Excel, just a simple Google form, you can inquire from the industry, where are you headed? What is it that you want? What are the new aspects of your production or your activities or what you are doing that you think graduates are not filling up? What is it? Then they mention these topics to you. You ask them whether, because this is something I'm currently engaged in. I'm working with a consortium, and we're developing a new master's program, this Erasmus master's program, or like a consortium of universities in Europe. And just a simple inquiry from industry, what they want, a simple assessment, and to understand what the industry vision is generally of what the industry will be looking for in the next 5 years or next 10 years. A simple analysis of also the job requirements that industries roll out every now and then. Just go to let us, for example, you take up like a mining engineering firm or a firm that works on civil engineering or all that. You take up a range of firms. You do an analysis of the skills they are requiring for their employers, for their employees or those whom they want to employ in that, let's say in the last 5 years. Then you do like a projection, what would it be in the next 5 years? And you ask the industry, what are their projections in the next 5 years? Or what skills would they be looking at? And a simple assessment with that, like the admin and those who work in some of these universities, and do these assessments. Just very simple. And you have an idea of the skill base that the industry is looking at, where they are and where they're going to. And all you need to do is you search up the courses or subjects or topics around those skills that you could incorporate into your program. And you pass through the university process of approving it and you get it done. I understand that it is quite tedious and quite taxing to get certain things, certain new courses approved given the bureaucracies in our systems. But for universities that is possible, that it's easier to do these things, it's better to just do these things and improve the curriculum rather than waiting for a complete overhaul. Like if we keep adding one course, maybe today you update the course, this year, another year you add another course, it's better than to hold on and wait until a total overhaul or remaking of the entire program. For example, bachelor's program for biochemistry, you wait until it is possible for you to overhaul everything from year 1 to year 2. My point is, you can take some courses, develop the courses, and make it possible for those who are in year 2 or year 3 to take these courses as elective if they are interested and add to their own credit points. Just like that. And people keep, by that means people update their skills, update their knowledge on the new courses that they introduce. Anybody can take the course, be it in second year or third year, depending on the nature and the strength of the course that is being developed. So my solution, what I'm recommending here is, 1, check with the industry, a simple assessment of where they are currently and where they are going. 2, take this information, develop a course and send it to the university. Just develop one course at a time, send it to the university to approve, list of topics around this course and list of topics and develop this module and teach the students, and students can borrow these classes for their elective and that, and you keep developing it one at a go. And over time, you find out that people will begin to de-emphasize, they'll begin to select the courses that they find interesting and unique to them, and preparing them for the job that they are looking forward to. And over like the whole strong structure.
Just 2 minutes, and so I think we need to wrap up the session, and then we'll convene tomorrow for the second module. So once again, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and apologize for the technical hitch, but I think that has been very successful with the pre-recorded session as well. Professor Pai Obanya will be live tomorrow at exactly 12 o'clock GMT, and so we are asking that we all join at that time. Please make sure that you convert the webinar standard time, 12 o'clock GMT, to your local time. I sent that information to all of us, and so please check so that you don't join an hour before the session or you come in too late as well. We'll be sending the PowerPoint slides and then also the take-home assignment that Prof left with us. And so if you have not registered for the session, please do so through the link that I shared with you, because I have all your email addresses, and that is the data I'll be sending the content through. So please make sure we have your email address, and we'll send you the information as well. Yes, this training will also be certified. There'll be certification, sorry. So if you would, or you are interested in being certified, please let us know, and we will do so. On this note, on behalf of Professor Pai Obanya and then the Secretary General, Professor Etienne Ahile, I would like to thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you same time tomorrow. My name is Kwesi Sam, and I work with the Directorate of Research and Academic Planning here at AAU. Please have a good day. Bye.
Educational thoughts,
Right, you can go on. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're ready. So it's going to be a sprint race. As
The Association of African Universities, AAU, Africa's apex higher education organization, invites stakeholders to its 15th quadrennial General Conference from 5th to the 8th of July 2021. The theme is the future of African higher education. The conference will be held virtually and hosted by the government of Ghana under 6 sub-themes as follows. Sub-theme 1, the future of African higher education post-COVID-19. Sub-theme 2, contributions of African higher education institutions to addressing the challenges linked to the COVID-19 pandemic. Sub-theme 3, contributions of African higher education institutions in achieving sustainable development goals. Sub-theme 4, funding of African higher education institutions in the face of unpredictable economy. Sub-theme 5, mainstreaming e-learning and the digital divide. Sub-theme 6, contributions of the diaspora to African higher education. Expected participants include ministries of higher education, academics, researchers and research organizations, regional economic communities, regional educational bodies like IUCEA, CAMES, and SARUWA, the organized private sector and captains of industry, development partners, and other education stakeholders. The AAU's 15th Quadrennial General Conference is here. To register, kindly go to the link below, and for further enquiries, please visit the website www.events.aau.org/GenCon or send an email to secgen@aau.org and copy info@aau.org. AAU, the voice of higher education in Africa.
L'Association des universités africaines, AUA, l'organisation faîtière de l'enseignement supérieur en Afrique, invite toutes les parties prenantes à sa 15e conférence générale quadriennale qui se tiendra du 5 au 8 juillet 2021. Le thème de cette conférence est l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain. La conférence se tiendra virtuellement et ce sera accueilli par le gouvernement du Ghana. Elle comprend les 6 sous-thèmes principaux suivants. Sous-thème 1, l'avenir de l'enseignement supérieur africain après la COVID-19. Sous-thème 2, contribution des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains pour le relevé des défis liés à la pandémie COVID-19. Sous-thème 3, contribution des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains à la réalisation des objectifs de développement durable. Sous-thème 4, financement des établissements d'enseignement supérieur africains face à une